Who rules the underworld today, and where do they conduct their business? Nowadays, organized crime is run like any other business, with its leading figures looking like any other broker or tycoon. The National Crime Agency estimates that £90 billion of criminal money is laundered through the UK every year. In this documentary, we'll take you through a list of the biggest, toughest gangsters in modern Britain, all competing for their share of that £90 billion. We'll cover notorious figures and gangs like the Kinahan Cartel, Liverpool's own Curtis Warren, Paul Green from Witness, and many more. Plus, we have some breaking news at the end of the video, so make sure to stay tuned until the very end. First on the list is Curtis Warren. In the shadows of Liverpool's tough streets, one name stands out in the world of organized crime: Curtis Warren. A man whose criminal empire stretched far beyond the UK. Dubbed the boss of the British underworld, Warren rose to power in the 1980s, becoming a master of smuggling and gaining infamy for trafficking drugs across Europe. With an operation that spanned from the UK to the Netherlands, Warren's empire generated millions. At the height of his power, he controlled one of the most sophisticated drug-running operations in Europe. However, in 1996, Warren was arrested and sentenced to 12 years for drug smuggling. He would later serve additional time for other crimes, earning a reputation as one of the UK's most dangerous criminals. But despite his imprisonment, Warren's name still echoes across the criminal world. He remains a symbol of the rise and fall of the modern gangster, a ruthless figure in a high-stakes underworld. Curtis Warren, a name that reminds us how the lines between business and crime can often be razor-thin. Curtis Warren's criminal career is notorious for both his vast drug empire and violent incidents. One of the most well-known events took place in prison on September 15, 1999, when Warren killed a fellow inmate, Samal Guklu. The altercation began when Guklu, unprovoked, began insulting Warren in the prison yard. After Guklu threw a punch at Warren, the situation quickly escalated. Warren pushed Guklu against a wall, and Guklu attempted to fight back. However, Warren kicked Guklu in the head multiple times, leading to the inmate's death. As a result, Warren was sentenced to an additional 4 years for manslaughter. In 2007, after serving time for his earlier crimes, Warren was released from prison. But his criminal activities didn't end. In 2009, he was arrested for attempting to smuggle cannabis into the island of Jersey. On December 3, 2009, he was sentenced to 13 years for his involvement in the plot. After being released again in November 2022, Warren's troubles with the law continued. On August 27, 2024, he pleaded guilty to 6 breaches of his serious crime prevention order at Liverpool Crown Court. We're working on a full documentary about Curtis Warren and his criminal empire. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. This is a story you won't want to miss. Next on the list is the Kinahan Cartel. The Kinahan Organized Crime Group, KOCG, commonly referred to as the Kinahan Cartel, is a formidable Irish transnational criminal syndicate. It is widely regarded as one of the most powerful criminal organizations in Ireland and one of the largest in the world. With a presence in the UK, Spain, and the United Arab Emirates, the cartel has a truly global reach. Founded by Hutch-Kinahan in the 1990s, the group has grown into a significant force in international crime. Today, the cartel's operations are overseen by his eldest son, Daniel Kinahan, who manages the day-to-day activities. Various reports estimate the group's wealth to be as high as €1 billion, cementing their position as a major player in global organized crime. In 2015, the murder of Gary Hutch in Marbella, Spain, ignited a violent and deadly feud between Hutch-Kinahan and Gerry Hutch, also known as the Monk. This conflict, which became known as the Hutch-Kinahan feud, spiraled into a brutal battle, marked by multiple murders on both sides. Despite the bloodshed, the Kinahan cartel ultimately proved too powerful for the Monk and his faction, solidifying the Kinahan's dominance in the ongoing war. The feud between the Kinahans and the Hutch gang is responsible for the tragic deaths of 18 individuals. Here are their names and pictures. May they rest in peace. No amount of money or territory is worth the cost of these young lives. and we can only hope that this senseless violence never returns to the heights of this war. Hutch, who turned 59 on April 11, 2022, was in a cell at Wheatfield Prison. When U.S. law enforcement pledged to take down the top tier of the crime gang responsible for the murder of several members of his family, including his brother, 3 of his nephews, and 1 of his best friends.
Daniel Kinahan, his father Christy Sr. and brother Christy Jr. and 4 others have been named as key members of the group.
They certainly are, Colette. There is no overstating the importance of today's joint announcement by Irish, US and UK authorities. The US government has today effectively declared war on the Kinahan organised crime group, imposing sanctions against them. And to underline their importance and the seriousness with which they're treating the Kinahan group, they have imposed a $5 million bounty effectively for information which could see them brought to justice. The US government today in a briefing posted online detailing their concerns and information about the Kinahan group, saying that they want the 3 key figures, the leaders of the Kinahan group as they described them, brought to justice, including Christy Kinahan Sr., described as the founder of the group, his son Daniel Kinahan, described in the High Court as the controller and manager of the organised crime group, and Christy Kinahan Jr. Now, they have ended up on a list of sanctions alongside Russian oligarchs, terror groups and foreign regimes considered hostile to the United States and considered a threat to US national security. A dramatic moment here at City Hall not too long ago when the US Ambassador to Ireland, Claire Cronin, effectively spelled out that these are wanted men.
Pleased to announce a reward of up to $5 million for information leading to the financial disruption of the KTCO or the arrest and convictions of its leaders.
Surely, this was a blessing for Hutch in some way. The Kinahans would have no choice but to relieve the pressure, as it seemed the entire global justice system was coming down on them. However, the monk also had other problems. Not only was he wanted dead by one of the most ruthless criminal organizations to come out of Ireland, but he was also awaiting trial for the Regency Hotel murder of Kinahan Cartel Lieutenant David Byrne, who was shot dead in 2016. The Hutch-Kinahan feud is an ongoing gangland conflict in Ireland between the Hutch and Kinahan crime families. The feud began in 2015 and has since claimed 19 lives. A 19th man, Glenn Clark, 26, identified as a Kinahan hitman, was found fatally shot in a stolen car in the Riverdale estate, Leixlip County, Kildare. Now let's cross the Irish Channel from Dublin to Widnes. Paul Green, 59, known as the Big Fella, was sentenced to 32 years for orchestrating the largest drug syndicate ever to emerge from the UK. The scale of the operation? Staggering. Green's criminal empire amassed a fortune of £7 billion, far surpassing the wealth of notorious criminals like the Kinahans, whose fortune is estimated at £1 billion, or Curtis Warren, who was once worth £40 million. To put that in perspective, even infamous figures like Frank Lucas, $52 million, Anthony Salerno, $600 million, and Al Capone, $1.3 billion, pale in comparison. Green's syndicate was on a whole new level. Green and his crew flooded the UK with heroin, cocaine, amphetamines, and cannabis, operating from hidden warehouses across the Netherlands and northern England. His right-hand man, Stephen Martin, 53, orchestrated the finances and was sentenced to 28 years. The operation, spanning from March 2016 to September 2018, ran with military precision. Despite multiple arrests and seizures, the gang adapted quickly, switching front companies and routes as soon as one was exposed. With a staggering 240 shipments, up to 4 a week, the authorities struggled to keep up. Even after several seizures, they pushed on, maintaining their grip on the UK's underworld. Green's network extended to high-profile mobsters like John Kinsella, whose murder in 2018 shocked the nation. The gang's audacity was unrivaled, and the haul of drugs seized barely scratched the surface of their vast criminal enterprise. Judge Paul Lawton described the scale of Green's smuggling operation as unprecedented, with a potential value ranging from £2 billion to £7 billion. Among the other convicted were Mohammed Ovais, 46, sentenced to 27 years for distributing the drugs. Russell Leonard, 48, a fluent Dutch speaker, sentenced to 24 years. And Dutch bosses Johannes Vesters, 54, and Barbara Reinbout, 53, who received 20 and 18 years, respectively. In the dark corners of international crime, Paul Green's syndicate stood as a titan, its reach and wealth beyond anything the UK had ever seen. Paul Green is unlikely to see the light of day again, given he's 60 and sentenced to 32 years in prison. The life of crime isn't worth spending the rest of your life behind bars. And that's the end of part 1 of Britain's biggest drug lords. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel.